morning, and welcome to Wednesdays with Darren and Cindy, where we bring you real conversation about things that affect our lives and the community. My name is Cindy Ward,
And my name is Darren Powell.
and we are going to be your host for our podcast.
Let's face it, there are tons of advice out there around success building, career development, personal enhancement. Though most of it is good advice, the problem is a lot of the advice doesn't translate into the DoD world. Because of its unique structure, one of the constants is all career progression and goal attainment is benefits of building a network and developing a system of follow-up. Not only will this help your life and your career, it would also relieve stress and enhance your overall life satisfaction and sense of accomplishment.
Well, today on Wednesdays with Darren and Cindy, we are going to be discussing the how to and the benefits of building an effective networking and developing habits of regular follow through in the DoD world that we live and work in. We have a special guest with us today. Mr. Rick Bosch, please introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background.
Hi, Rick Bosch, Director of Family and MWR. Um, right now I think I'm actually in my dream job. I didn't always start in MWR. I actually went to college to become an elementary school teacher. From there, got a summer job doing outdoor experiential education and just fell in love with the fusion of education and the outdoors. Worked a lot of outward bound style programs and took the team building leadership development skills I learned and turned it into a side project to do corporate development. So I was working two jobs for a while, and then decided one year to flip the switch, do nothing but corporate team building and leadership development. About a year later, changed my mind. A lot of traveling, busy lifestyle, and it was a big time grind, chasing down clients and setting up programs. And took some time to think about, what am I passionate about? What do I love to do? And how can I do it? I actually had a significant network back then, had a good relationship with a number of folks in MWR, the community recreation division, and decided, if I can do something I love and travel the world while doing it, that's where I want to be. Came into MWR as entry-level program manager, and day one, kind of had my sights set, my dreams on leading a team and being an MWR director someday. And been out here in Japan doing this for just about 3 years. I was acting director out at Fort Wainwright in Alaska for 6 months prior to coming out here, and just loving life.
All right, that's a lot.
How would you define success in a general sense?
I think success needs to be defined in many ways. In MWR world, being non-appropriated funds, I think a lot of folks get too wrapped up in defining success based on the numbers.
Yes.
We measure everything. There's metrics for everything, but while those are important in the foundations, true success here you're never gonna find in those numbers. We've got a staff numbers up to region. We've got a staff numbers up to headquarters. For us, true success comes in all different forms and fashions. Putting on community events, special events, family events, and just seeing the smiles out there and knowing you're making a difference.
Right.
To me, and I've shared this a few times, one of the ways I define success out here is I go to a lot of farewells in this community. We're a transient community. There's always people coming and there's always people going. Going to these farewells and hearing the same comment over and over that if it was up to me, I would never leave Camp Zama. Means that we're doing something right out here.
That's right.
For me personally, I've thought about how I define my personal success over and over again throughout my career. and it's changed a lot of times. To kind of be fully transparent, one point in time, I thought I needed to define success based on, position and salary. And I actually took a job that had a salary that, made my eyes pop and was literally blinded by the dollar signs because I wanted to make that much money. Even though everybody told me, it's a tough job, it's a tough company, and you're gonna be miserable. Even people that worked for the company said, don't come here, you're gonna be miserable. But all I could do is think about my paycheck. Do you know how big my paycheck is gonna be? And I took the job. I took the job because I wanted that paycheck and I wanted that position. And, thinking that I'm resilient and there's no situation I can't handle. And in the end of the day, I truthfully sacrificed, a big part of my happiness, my serenity, and my peace for a couple of dollars. And I promised myself that, number one, that is not how I'm ever going to measure success again. And number two, the experience was needed because I did a 180. For me, success is, it's nothing I'm producing out of my desk here. It's none of the reports that I'm staffing up. It's not my title on the business card, and it's certainly not my paycheck. At this point in my life and this point in my career, I'm defining success as, am I truly happy? Do I love what I do? Am I at peace with myself? Am I doing something that's giving back to the community? Am I challenging myself to continue to live and grow? So I've defined success a lot more with the intangibles. Do I get a good night's sleep? Because, I'm at peace and I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm where I need to be, when I need to be there, and, doing the best I can at it. So those are the things I think about in defining personal success now.
That was awesome. And audience, I was kind of looking inward as he was saying all these things, doing self checks. And this is a good thing because we all need to measure our success in this manner, in which we are able to see if we are happy, if we are truly doing what we really love to do. And at night, are we getting a really good rest? Because if you are not doing that, you are not being successful. What do you think?
I think the thing I got out of that was that success is relative,
Yeah.
I find people who get out of the military, they just want to go to Walmart and greet. And I'm saying, man, you were a colonel. Like, why would you want to do that? But again, they just kind of want a life that's where they're happy at. And where they're happiest at, it's not about a paycheck. It's not about a title. But again, I can so relate to that it's really relative. And some people paint success, like you said, being unhappy is not a successful place to be.
You're right.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So, Mr. Bosch, let's talk about branding. Okay, so in this society that we're in today, everything has a brand. How do you brand yourself? How do you go about doing that on your everyday basis, especially here in the DoD world? Because you have been everywhere and your name is out there, Mr. Bosch, as something amazingly great. So tell us about branding.
So, the simple answer to that question is I don't brand myself. I don't ever brand myself. If I'm out there and I'm doing my best and I'm making a difference, then other people are branding me. I don't need to do anything about it. As a leader, I'd like not to be a self-promoter. All the credit goes to my team. I've got great and intelligent and creative and passionate staff. And my job is just to, facilitate the magic, just give them the tools and the forums they need to make the magic happen. If things are going off course, just a gentle nudge and redirection, but, it's really not me. The only time I even think about something in the line of branding myself is if I'm updating my resume, because unfortunately we're in a world and a system that, unless you can toot your own horn on your resume and put some of your accomplishments down, you're not going to get the interview.
Right.
So, that's the only time I really reflect back on, what are my personal successes that I can highlight.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not updating my resume, I'm really not worried about personal successes. That's not the business that, MWR is in. And if I'm looking at personal successes over team successes, I'm in the wrong field, in the wrong job, and not what I do. I think we live in a very small community. Whether you're talking the DoD community, whether you're talking the Army community, whether you're talking the MWR community, it's a very small community. I just mentioned that we're an extremely transient population. There's almost no population in the world that's as transient as we are.
Correct.
So there is a finite group of people that keep on moving all places all over the world, and you stick in this career long enough, everybody not necessarily knows everybody else, but knows somebody that was where you were when you were there, and can say, hey, you know this guy? I noticed, he was in Germany, while you were there, or he was up at Fort Drum or Fort Bragg when you were there, and we all, a couple of degrees of separation, we're all going to be able to connect with somebody else that's coming in or leaving. So I think, just building a reputation, a positive reputation that can precede you is important.
Right.
Just doing the right thing at the right time, following the Army values. I mean, sometimes it's that simple. If you follow the Army values in your career, your day-to-day life, you're going to have a good reputation, and people are going to see and notice.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna kind of work off the cuff on this one. Um, if you're talking to a person who comes in and they says, "Hey, I have aspirations to sit in this seat one day," and as far as a career path, what does that person do to kind of position themselves for that? I mean, and I know it doesn't just happen magically. There's some on-purpose things you have to do, whether it be choosing what assignments to take, who get an endorsement through, and things like that. What would you say to that person?
Biggest advice I could give anybody, not just in MWR looking to kind of come up the ranks and maybe be a director someday, but anybody that's looking to advance is diversify your experience, diversify your network. The way we operate, a lot of the times people see us in stovepipes. That is not the Army way, that is not the IMCOM way, that is not the MWR way. In MWR, we've got here 4 distinct divisions. Some of the bigger post 5 very distinct divisions, and everything about that I hate, because number one, we call them divisions, which by nature is repelling and not attracting. If there's one thing I could change about nomenclature, we would never ever call these things divisions again. And when we present them on slide decks, they're in these nice neat little columns, which look just like the stovepipes that we all talk about shouldn't be there. And I think there's been some creative folks out there that have presented them other ways. So biggest thing you can do is stop thinking in your 4 walls and look for as much diversified experience as you can. Connect with as many diversified people as you can. In growing up, I was a rec guy, through and through. I was a rec guy at heart, and if all I did was, get to know and network with other rec guys and talk with the rec directors and learn from them, I would never be where I am today. I saw it completely different. I said, rec is in my wheelhouse. I've got it. I've seen rec on, the municipal level, the corporate level, the collegiate level. I've seen rec at all different levels, and rec is rec. What I need to do is, do my best in, the rec job at hand, but I need to learn more about the other divisions, because that's not in the center of my wheelhouse. And, in the Army world, whether, you're active duty or a civilian, All these other, tasks come up and they're always looking for volunteers to do all these other things that nobody really wants to do. I'm the guy that, if it's out of my lane or, something I don't know much about, I put my hand up 100% of the time. Let me do it. I want to learn. I may not, have this knowledge base in my wheelhouse, but I've got drive, I've got passion, I'm going to learn as much as I can and be a great member of the team.
Nice.
That's awesome. So how do you develop these networks?
Man, that is, I think that's one of the most challenging things that I see young professionals struggle with based on the information age that we're in. The information age that we're in is pushing us to be more and more informal and, networking. And I've kind of got into my professional career long before I had a cell phone in my pocket 24 hours a day. So I've seen it both ways. I've seen it then and I see it now. To develop a network, part of it is like raising your hand and getting put on diversified teams, meeting different people. Every time I send a team member or manager out to a TDY, one thing I continue to tell them is only 50% of what you're going to get out of this experience is going to happen in the banking hours during your scheduled program. The rest of it is going to happen in the hotel lobby on your lunch breaks when you're getting together with folks and picking restaurants and sharing cabs and looking at the map and doing something, because what you're doing is you're creating a relationship with other folks you wouldn't normally have a relationship with.
Right.
But the tricky thing is, how do you sustain the relationship? And my homework to them is, I took a Pacific Leadership Academy course before COVID about 2 years ago. There's 40 other folks in the course, and I know that all 40 of those folks are not going to be in my regular reoccurring permanent network, the entirety of my career. But if I could get 2 or 3 that I'm still talking to 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that's a huge success. So the homework I give them is, find those 2 or 3 people that you connected the most with out there. And it's your job to sustain that relationship, and at a bare minimum, just quarterly, get in touch with them, reach out to them, check in with them. You don't need an agenda, you don't need topics, just how are you doing, what's going on, and everything will roll from there. Awesome. It's easier to reach out to a network that you have regular communication with than somebody that you met once upon a time 9.5 years ago in Texas when you were out there for a week and trying to remember who were they, are they still in the position, they'd be perfect right now, but I haven't talked to them in I don't know how long.
Right.
They could have retired by now.
True.
So keep a network close to you.
Awesome. Man, that's good.
Okay. What do you see as some of the mistakes that people make around their networking?
So, a couple of them, and I think I hinted at it previously. One is, don't network with a whole bunch of yous, because that's not
so
going to help you.
That's good.
If, like I said before, if I'm networking because I'm a rec guy with only rec guys, then my propensity for growth and development, I self-inflicting and not opening myself up to all the possibilities. And for younger professionals, it's hard because that's what's in their comfort zone is to, hey, they're like me. We connect. We got things to talk about immediately. We're dealing with the same stuff, so here is my network. Very early professional, when you're just getting started, get a network of folks in your career field, doing similar tasks as you are. That's a starting point. But if you're not willing to graduate from there and diversify your network, you're doing yourself a disservice. So, as part of networking, I firmly believe in mentorship. I mentor folks, and I've got some formal and informal mentors. And the most recent one that I've got, I picked up about a year and a half ago, and it's one of my counterparts. It's another director out in Korea that I really admire what they do, and I know they are very, very different than me. They see MWR through a completely different set of lenses. They value different things than I do, and that's what actually attracted me most to them. Is I want to be able to connect on a regular basis with somebody that is looking through different lenses than I do, and that's going to help challenge me, and that's going to help me see different perspectives, and that's going to help me make better decisions down the road. In my hiring practices, same thing. I don't want to hire a bunch of me's. If I do, we're going to have limited perspective, limited scope. We're not going to push each other, and I want to be challenged. I want this diversity. So again, biggest thing that people do in networking that holds them back is not diversifying their network, not getting out of their comfort zone, and not embracing folks that are different from you, saying that is exactly what I need. So it's diversify as much as you can. Diversify, whether you do disc profile or Myers-Briggs, pick up all the pieces of the pie. Fill your network with all different personality, styles, because that's going to help you grow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, my circle is small. However, I do have a nice little variety of people around me because I don't want to be around people that are like me, because I know me. So I really don't want to be around people like me. But your circle, are you diversified as well too? I noticed that you have a
I think
nice
I do. I
variety
think I
of
have a
people.
very because I have this therapist background, and everybody wants to kind of put me in that box. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in that box anymore. I'm in a whole new world, and I love this new world. Again, I think who you are is who you are, so that piece kind of bleeds out a lot of the times. But I'm always trying to harness it and grow. And I can grow outside of that world because that world is kind of one of those worlds that's kind of sacred and small, and everybody speaks the same language. So if you're around a bunch of weird therapists, you're just doing weird stuff. But if
You're
you
the
want to
weird
get
therapist.
to the point where you're developing your business side and your follow up and stuff like that, and that's a good kind of transition for the sake of time.
For follow up.
It's follow up. Can we talk about that in a general sense? Because that's one of the things I find so impressive about what you do. I think I probably sent you 3 to 4 emails, but I always get an answer back, and it's always quick, and it's always thorough, and it's always this sense of I'm going to give you an answer, and it's always an answer that comes with it, and that's super impressive. That being said, can you talk to us a little bit about follow up and how important that is?
Well, I think it has to do with reputation. If you're a leader on a team, you need to constantly follow up. You need to bare minimum, just acknowledge that something's coming through. If you don't have enough time to deal with it now, you acknowledge and let somebody know. Acknowledge that I need to get you something. Don't have the time this moment, but I'm going to get back to you, and it's going to get done, and make sure you're doing. With networking, like I talked about, follow-up is one of the things that's going to crumble your network and minimize it and diminish it. And if you're building a network, I think one of some of the best advice I could give to you is formalize it as much as possible. I talked about the information age. Texting and emails to somebody you're building a network with is not sustainable. That is about as informal as it gets. That's how we conduct business. I say you get things done quick. That's what it's designed for. It's not designed for necessarily relationship building, and certainly in my estimation, not relationship building in the field we're in. Following up with people in my network is always going to be a phone call for the folks that are not in geographic proximity, and it's going to be in person for the folks that are in geographic proximity. That strengthens all the intangibles. You get the full experience out of it. You can really tell how somebody is doing much better, ideally, when you're sitting down and looking them in the eyes, seeing their body language. If you can't get that far, at least pick up the phone, because the inflection in their voice is going to tell you an awful lot too. First 30 seconds talking to them, you probably, if you work with people and understand the dynamics of people, you're going to tell what kind of day they're having or what kind of moment you're catching them in, just by that inflection in their voice. Listen for it, be a part of that. Developing a network over digital media only, I think is got a much weaker foundation, and you're missing the human component of it. So anything you could do, to follow up with people and harvest the human, behind it is vitally important to combat where we are in this digital age.
That's
That's good
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
that's real good stuff.
So we got about 2 more questions for you. The one question I do want to ask you is, how do you see networking and follow-up playing a role in managing daily stress relief?
So, networking and managing daily stress relief is fantastic. We've all had tough days,
True.
and if I'm hitting a rough spot or I'm dealing with a challenge that's really kind of got me thrown off kilter, that is an ideal time for me to pick up the phone and call somebody in my network or my mentor and blow some steam off.
Yeah.
But not just blow some steam off. For me, sharing to the best of my ability, what the situation is, hopefully not always from my perspective, but try to give the best full picture I can, and even use that as a litmus test is, hey, am I even right in feeling this way? Because, at times, and that's why I've got these, relationships built through my network and my mentors of respect and trust, because I respect and trust them enough to tell me when I'm wrong.
Right.
I don't build a network because I want to be coddled and pat on the back and for them to look at my stuff and say, wow, you're amazing, that's so great. That doesn't do me any good. I want you to tell me when things are wrong, you disagree, why you disagree, but gives me a chance to, in a very constructive way, blow off some of the steam, see things from an outside perspective, which helps reduce the stress, and a very positive and proactive person to process this stuff with.
Yes.
Because if I've got the people to process this with, I can get it out of me and processed through me without carrying it home with me, where it's going to affect my family life, my wife, my daughter, where it's going to start affecting my sleep, which is going to start affecting everything else in my life. That's going to affect my work, which is going to start affecting my family too. So those positive outputs and outlets through network and mentorship and menteeship is really, really important to my serenity, my peace, my ability to do my job.
Awesome.
That is so good. That's so good. We're about out of time, but one question, and I think this is crucial. I'm a big reader. I'm reading or listening to a book almost all the time. You have a read that you would recommend to our listeners that might help them move them in the right direction, or just maybe one of your favorite reads in respect to development, personal development?
Yeah. So I'm going to take a different approach to that entirely. So, kind of based on everything I've shared already, the how do we network properly in the digital age, and intonation, voices, and body language. My strongest advice is spend that couple of hours you read the book and make a bunch of phone calls and get somebody on the other end of the line and have a great conversation with them. And instead of reading the next book, call them back again a few months later and have those conversations. You're never gonna grow your network in a book.
That's good.
It's people. Michael Jordan did not learn how to play basketball reading books in the library. He learned out on the court every day. So
Awesome.
if you want to grow a strong network, as much as I am a huge proponent, like you were saying about reading and learning, this is one of those few situations I'm going to advise you not to waste your time. Invest that time you would have in actually getting out into the world and making it happen.
That's good.
Love
That's
it.
good stuff.
Love it. That was really good stuff. Yes. So, everyone, that was Wednesdays with Darren and Cindy. And we had as our guest Mr. Rick Bosch with us today. And we will see you all next week.